Come, let me get you something.
All right, yo, welcome to Saber Talk Sunday. Mundo and Barris in the house.
Hello,
Chris, he'll
everyone.
probably show up after a little bit. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight, Sunday night. I hope everybody's had a great week so far, and we're fixing to start the new week. So hopefully everybody had a great weekend as well. Um, Lord Reaver and Cam, as he's called as well. So if y'all know him, know his fonts. I want to welcome him to the show. Thank you, Cam, for coming on to the show, man. Much appreciated.
Thank you guys for having me. It's really appreciated.
Yep.
So what brought you into uh what brought you to do Saber fonts? Or how did you actually get
Um,
started in Sabers, actually?
so I got into Sabers about early 2020, somewhere around there. Read about the start of COVID, and I ended up ordering kind of as a newbie. Shopped around online, ended up getting into the trap of Ultra Sabers, and got their product. Was not happy with it in the least bit. Decided I took it upon myself to figure it out on my own. Started doing installs. Um, Took my music background as a guitarist and just general music production. Took that, went over to Soundfonts, started kind of dissecting them, and went from there. It didn't take, but I would say within the first 6 months or so of me installing my own
Mhm.
lightsaber, or even ordering the first lightsaber, within 6 months I had already installed about a dozen sabers of my own and started making sound fonts. So just been doing that ever since. So it's been about 5 years now that I've been making sound fonts, doing installs. Unfortunately, I don't offer the installs as much anymore, but still making sound fonts. I have a catalog of, I believe, currently it is at 92. And
Oh
there's
wow.
plenty more coming. I actually just acquired some new equipment to start producing some different sounds. So there's definitely more on the way. But I also do hilt design. I do chassis design. I've done quite a few hilts for Corbanth.
Hmm.
I'm sure all everyone here is familiar with Corbanth.
Of
They've been
course.
quite a predominant company in the saber community for quite a while. I believe they've been in business for about 20 years, give or take.
Wow.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I've
Awesome.
done some hilts for them over the last couple of years. I've been getting more into the production side of things on the on that end of it, and getting a little bit further away from doing the installs and the stuff like that. So, but
Hmm.
it's been nice. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. Earlier this morning. Well, actually, all weekend long, man. I've been sampling some of your fonts, and the one that really stand. Well, there's a few that really stand out to me, but the one that really stands out the most is your Shogun, and I'm like, what? I was like,
Interesting enough, that was
wow.
a commission that was done for another company. I don't believe he's doing anything anymore. I believe it was Black Sun Sabers is the one that I made that for
Hmm.
about 4 years ago or so now.
Hmm. Well, and oddly enough, that when I saw that, what's up, Jeremy? Solo Sabers in the house. Um, and I oddly enough, when I heard that font, I'm all like, I just bought a Toranaga hilt from Jealous Junkyard. I'm all like, man, I need to get that font to put on there. I'm
Yeah,
all
there's a
like,
couple of other sword ones that I've done in the since then. But
hmm
there's definitely some other sounds that since I've got some new equipment that I've been toying around with, and I think I'm going to go back and do a couple of other blade type ones like that, where it's more of a physical sword as opposed to like an energy sword or something like that.
hmm
One thing I will say, I do going off of what Mundo is saying, Cam. I really do enjoy the ingenuity of some of your fonts. Like for example, name like for example, your Sith Alchemist font, and as well as Republic Defender, and Deceived Jedi. Like, I don't know another person who has done an Exar Kun font. I don't know another person who has done anything like that. So, I mean, all I really can say is just add a few like quotes, and like it's golden there.
So with the quotes, I try to stray away from that due to copyright issues and issues like that. I really
Mhm.
try to fly under the radar in that regard, as much as possible. I don't like seeing other people get hit with DCMAs or DMCAs and things of that sort. So I
Mhm.
try to fly as low under the radar to try not to poke the poke the hornet's nest in any other regard of like any other companies
I mean,
intellectual
Mhm.
properties.
well, I mean, it's
So
not like Disney's going to come after you because I mean, Exar Kun.
it's not so much Disney in that regard as much as it is the other companies or the other IPs that I have worked on. It
Mhm.
brings more of a light to the shadow in that regard of if I start doing it in this regard, then I kind of have to follow suit and do it on the other side of that coin. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
in
And
my
that happens quite a bit, doesn't it?
right. It's one of those things that I've seen throughout the years of people getting, questionable emails and things like that where I don't want to personally go through that and I try to
Mhm.
alleviate that as much as I can if there's other font artists that I see coming into the swing of things. I kind of, at least make it known that, hey, we are under a watchful eye of not just Disney, but many other IPs that we, tend to utilize their sounds from. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's I don't mind if people modify my fonts, add their own quotes or anything like that. That's another reason why I charge the price point that I do. And it's
Mhm.
all for the time and the work that I put into modifying and creating all the sounds that I do. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't want to take the extra time to put something in there that somebody may not want, and then two, I don't want to put something time into it that's going to end up costing me in the
Mhm.
longer run because of those kind of issues.
yeah,
Do you
definitely.
think some of those issues? Do you think some of those issues turn you off to certain like sounds of fonts that you think that might have some trouble coming along, or
In
do
a
you just?
sense, yes, there have been some. Um, I would say not so necessarily inside Star Wars, but there
Mhm.
have been other commissions that I've been brought that I wasn't comfortable touching due to the
Mhm.
just due to the backing that those IPs have. There's
Mhm.
very very litigious.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I will say that your Halloween fonts that you've done are really nice. Very
Thank
right
you.
on point for the tis the season.
Yeah. Yeah, those ones came about from a kind of an oddball commission a couple of years back. They were I got a idea brought to me about making sound fonts based on a board game, and I kind of scratched my head a little bit, and he gave me the ideas for them, and
Mm.
I bounced back and forth between wanting to do something entirely different than what I actually did, but it took a while. It took a while. They were kind of a pain to work on, but I think they came out really well, and I hope that people enjoy them. I just released them to the public maybe about a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that people see them and people really utilize them for the Halloween season.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the blood and bone fonts?
Yep.
Yeah, yep. So there's
Hmm.
blood, bone, flesh, and spirit, and they're
Man.
like I said, they were based on a board game. I can't remember exactly what the board game was at the very moment, but Yeah, very very interesting, very unique fonts.
Very, because the one that I think it's either the flesh one. I think it's the flesh one that you have the heartbeat in there.
That's
Um,
blood.
oh,
It's
it's blood. Okay.
Yep, it's it actually rises and lowers throughout the entirety of the font hum there. It
Mm-hmm.
fluctuates in its beats per minute, and it's just those little touches that make font making really fun.
Yeah, that's what really interested me in that one. Man, I was all like, "Oh, it's got the heartbeat in there going fast and slow," and it was just like, "Wow!" I mean,
Mhm.
this is just something you would hear in one of those haunted houses, right? And then
Right.
so you take your shaper with you through a haunted house, and then you turn on that font and you hear that heartbeat, like, "Oh, dude, this would be freaking awesome, man!"
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
that's one of my ultimate aspirations, or I guess goals in a sense of trying to make my way to movie effects and movie sounds and stuff like that. But
Oh.
it's a long road. It's a long road.
Well, I mean, anything that you do, man, and it seems like the common denominator with most font makers is either music or sound engineering backgrounds,
Yeah.
on top of other things. So that seems to be the common denominator. Somebody like me, I would have no clue on how to do any of that stuff unless I had somebody right next to me and say, "Hey, this is, step one, this is step two."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and for
it's
those who train, go ahead.
oh, I was saying, yeah, it's definitely a process, especially kind of reverse engineering the way I did to kind of figure out fonts to in the beginning there.
Hmm.
It definitely takes a certain amount of knowledge and I guess desire to actually get your idea to light. Um,
Hmm.
it's definitely not something that everyone can do. I've seen a lot of people try, and I wish them the best, but it can be quite a headache.
I bet. I mean, how time consuming does one of your fonts take sometimes?
It really depends. When it's something that's more, I would say, unique, original, something like the Blood font or something like that,
Mm.
that's going to take me upwards of a month to 2 months, maybe even more. It really depends on if I'm happy with the sound, if I'm happy with the mixing, if I'm happy with how the overall idea that I had before the finished product meets the
Hmm.
finished product. So it's really depending on that variable when it comes to some of the more individualistic fonts like uh, some of the out of universe stuff and things like that because not a lot of them have replicable sounds to them. So
Hmm.
creating, just out of thin air, sometimes it takes a little while. Other fonts that already have kind of a basis, obviously in the movies or video games or
Hmm.
whatever the like.
Yeah.
Those become a lot easier. Those I can do a font like that in a day or two, and it's really just a matter of if I have the ability to find a solid enough base in my own equipment versus
Hmm.
what is already out there. So it's really a matter of mixing and stuff when it comes to that.
Hmm.
Oh, the zombie. Yeah, the zombie is chilling. Yeah, it really is from Jade
Yeah,
alone.
I hate to bust you there, Scott, but Kyber Zombie's been around for a few years. You just updated it.
Um,
That's all.
now, Cam, have you collaborated with anybody on any fonts at all?
Yes, actually, me and Syndicate Custom Relics, we're actually really good friends. He's been out
Hmm.
of the community for a little while. He's got some personal things going on, and unfortunately hasn't had the time to kind of make his full comeback to the community. But
Hmm.
we have done projects in the past. We have worked on things together. Um, and we do have plans on working on more. As far as working with anyone else, I kind of stick to myself in that regard most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reason why me and Syndicate have worked so well together is I'm actually the one of the ones that kind of help not necessarily teach him, but refine some of
Mm-hmm.
those things that he had questions on in the early days. So,
Oh, there
um,
you go.
yeah, as far as collaboration goes, I haven't had anything publicly released as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a couple of exclusive commission based type ones for a couple of different companies actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially with hold on, where was it? Especially with what you've done with your specific sabers for Corbanth. I
Yep.
mean, they are really good. I mean, you've done a version for the Refined Mentor hilt.
Yep.
You've done one for Jaina and Jason's solos hilts, the Forgotten Twins. You've done I you've done one for Darth Malak for the newer hilt that
Yep.
they designed for
And then I did one for Plagueis, which I actually designed that hilt. That came out maybe
recently. Yeah,
maybe about 2 months ago, something about that.
yeah.
But yeah,
Last I saw, there's like 7 of them left in stock.
Wow.
yeah. I think Corbanth did kind of a smaller run on that one, but they went quick, and I'm very pleased that people were very receptive of that one.
Now, when you did the Soul Infinity Stone and all of those, um, were those based on when you saw Marvel movies and stuff?
Um, More or less, yeah. Those were some of the earlier fonts that I did. I
Mm-hmm.
think I did those sometime in 2021, maybe earlier than that,
Mm-hmm.
late 2020. Um, but yeah, it just came about from my love of comic books and just general nerddom, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love the movies. Like I said, I would love to get into movie production, whether it's sound effects or visual effects or anything like that. But yeah, it came about from me seeing the movies, being kind of fascinated with the sounds that they used within
Mm-hmm.
the movies, and kind of came from an idea of, well, what would happen if I created a full font based around each one of the stones and then each one of the gauntlets. And
Mm-hmm.
it started out with the gauntlets and kind of became a breakdown of doing all the six different stones and the different
Mm-hmm.
gauntlets there. But yeah, if you've seen my catalog there, I have quite a few different Marvel fonts. I've got a Venom font. I actually just finished up and released Magneto, I think a couple of months ago.
Yep.
And then I also have Thor. Thor is another one that I did.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I've
will
done
say
I've done
that
quite a lot of them.
I will say that with with what you were saying with the Infinity Gauntlet fonts that you've done, it even got FET263 to create a Profi style based off of those, which
So what's kind of funny about that, um, the one that you see in the font, when you buy the font off me, I give the blade style detail for everything. Those are all ones I created.
oh, okay.
We kind of created them simultaneously at that point in time, and I was very new when it came on about that time. So I wasn't really fully up to date with what FET was doing. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy that the community kind of just kind of decided on the same kind of thing at the same time there. So that was kind of a neat thing.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with JB Kuma? Um, have you seen his video where he has the Infinity Gauntlet lightsaber that he built, and he put.
I'm not familiar.
Okay, so when you get a chance, if you get a chance, go to JB Kuma on YouTube. Uh, I think it's Mad Scientist, something like that. I think, but it's JB Kuma, Mad Scientist, and
Okay.
he's done the Magneto helmet with all the blinkies and everything in there, and then
Very nice.
but he's also done the Infinity Gauntlet lightsaber, and you have to have all the stones in place before you could actually turn on the lightsaber.
That's
And
really neat.
it is freaking awesome, man.
I love seeing things like that.
He's done such an awesome job. I mean, some of the things that he's done is just absolutely phenomenal, man. So yeah, so if you guys out there, you ever get a chance, look at the Mad Scientist by JB Kuma, and you just be amazed of some of the stuff that he has produced and done. And so it really is just a pleasure to see work like that within the community as well,
Yep.
and to hear all the different sounds that we can produce. Well, certain people can produce, myself not included, because I don't think I would ever actually have the time or the equipment to do my own sound font. And so I really appreciate all the different sound font makers that are out there that can do this. My friend BK from BK Sabers does wonderful on his Mountain
Yeah, I'm
Sabers. He
familiar with
does,
Brian.
Yeah.
yeah. Brian is he's an awesome dude, man. And then
Yeah.
James from Mountain Sabers. Um, and of course Carter Mythomix, man, he's done some my favorite um font from him is the Ghost Rider font that he did.
Hell Cycle.
And Hail Cycle, there you go. And so that was really cool. I've got that one on one of my sabers. As And then of course Juan Sith has the what is it, the Wolverine and Deadpool sound fun.
Yeah.
So, and those are hilarious, man. If you listen to those, they are hilarious.
They're a fan favorite when I go to my Saber Legion practices.
Nice.
I actually, Cam, I've been working with Juan Sith, and some of the fonts that he's come out with in the last year, I've actually done some collaborations with him.
Oh,
Exiles
nice.
Blade, the Five Nights at Freddy's font, that was a combination of him doing the sound making, and what I did was I looked through for all the quotes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is with that font is it's not over, because if you saw the announcement for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and who's voicing the toy animatronics,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be all over that. I mean, Megan Fox's Toy Chica, like that's gold.
Now, what get Cam? What gets you excited about a font that like you have in your head, and then really making it come to life? What is your first thought of, like? Do you get that gear in the headlight look when you see something and you go like, ooh, like
it's
ding?
it really depends. Some of them much more excited than others.
Hmm.
When it's something that's sparked out of just pure creativity.
Hmm.
I hear a sound and I exactly like you were saying. Ooh, I enjoy that sound. It becomes much more of a I need to. I'm determined to prove to myself that I was able to bring the idea to light, and that's what makes me excited about it is just getting to the final product, listening to it, and going, that's what was in my head. That's what gets me excited about it is being able to hear my own idea come to fruition. Um, Whereas some others, it's more a determination of more stubbornness. Born out of stubbornness, I suppose. Um, but yeah, it's I would say it's a determination to hear the idea brought to actual physical,
Mhm.
audible sound. So
Right. And
Yeah.
do you actively search for stuff, or does it just like pop out of nowhere sometimes? Just like you,
um
let's say, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna
I was
say,
oh, my my apologies. um I would say I guess it depends. When I have a specific, like uh like a generalized direction for the font.
hmm
So say it's based on a character.
hmm
It becomes a lot more of me searching for that sound,
hmm
where going back to the more individualistic fonts of like blood and stuff like that, those become I hear a sound while I'm making music, while I'm listening to stuff on YouTube, while I'm doing various things, playing a
hmm
video game, anything like that. It can spark that kind of idea that goes, I can work with this. I can do something with this. It's there's something tangible there, and
hmm
it's that there's a way to build on that. So it really depends on the subject matter, when it comes to searching for the sound versus I've already found the sound and I just need to manipulate it and tear it apart until I get what I want out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. That definitely is a big factor right there, because there, there's a lot of things in life that you're going through, whether you be, out with the family or out with your friends, and some random situation just comes around, and you're like, oh, oh, damn, I wish I had my notepad with me so I can take it down, or you carry it with you through
Right.
the entire time, and as soon as you get home, I gotta work on it. I gotta get it done,
Yep,
right?
exactly. It becomes it's kind of viral in a way. It becomes a virus of that spark of idea becomes much more than a spark. That fire grows really quick with those.
hmm Now, have there been some fonts that you actually absolutely just kind of like, I'm not too fond of, like,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's definitely ones in my catalog that um I mean, I know for a fact that there is a set of, I think there's 8 somewhere around there. I
hmm
did I did ones for World of Warcraft, probably during the start of my career as a font maker. They're not
hmm
terrible, but the source audio that I had to work with was not the greatest. And even through replication and all other things that I did to make it what I wanted it still didn't turn out how I envisioned it. And
hmm
still to this day I delisted them because me as a creative artist, I'm not happy with the final product, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
feel okay with putting that out there. And there's still other ones that there's not necessarily anything wrong with them, but there's ticks about them I have. There's certain things that I notice as the creator of them going, I don't necessarily like that, but I've
hmm
gotten many of people that come to me and go, "Hey, this is my favorite part of that font," and it's something that I personally is not my taste.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody's got different taste, and that's the thing that I want to portray on the show as well, is everybody's different. Everybody is individualized. Even though you have a set of people that may like something,
Right.
or even and the creators themselves, and people have to understand that the creators themselves, whether they like it or not, they can put it out there, but they do have the choice to pull it if they want, because if they're not going to be happy with it, they want to make sure that most creators are pleasing the people that that do have that font, and that it's as pleasing to them as it is to the creator themselves,
Right.
and not produce something that maybe only the creator liked and then nobody else likes, right?
Right.
And so the whole goal and is for an artist such as yourself and all the different font makers is to produce fonts that mean something to those people, or actually bring the lightsaber soul out, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And that
And
makes sense that it brings more life to the saber. And I don't mean
mhm,
it's just, oh, the sound makes it seem more realistic. No, it brings more emotion to it. It brings more feeling and depth to the actual meaning behind the saber, to that person, to whoever made that font. It's,
mhm.
there's a lot of different layers to it.
Yeah, and I can understand why you would get into it after dealing with Ultra Sabers as one of your first sabers. I mean, I started with Ultra Sabers as my
Yep.
first like collectible lightsaber
As many do.
after the Master Replicas,
Yeah.
Force FX hilts, and I mean they were good from when I started out. It was like 2015, 2016.
Hmm.
So I mean they were okay, but like it definitely got a lot better within the last like 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially with board technology coming the way that it has, it's grown exponentially even in the 5 years that I've been here, and that's a lot. It's made things a lot more viable for people. I mean, Ultra Sabers is not what they used to be, and there's no holding a light to
Mhm.
what they ever could be comparatively to some of the other,
I
you know.
mean, like the only
I
time I
agree.
ever like even consider getting an Ultra Sabers hilt is if I were to see them in person at a convention and ask for them not to just have an empty hilt.
Yep, yep.
Like,
That's my course of action. If anyone is kind of dead set on getting an Ultra Saber, is get it empty. Find somebody that's
Right.
reputable. Get the work done through that reputable person. Do
like
it yourself.
crazy or
There's other means to do so. Some of the hilts people like them, and I'm not here to knock them. Some of them, as unwieldy as they may be, some of them may be comfortable, and some of them may have a special, like a special spark to somebody, and that's not for anyone to judge or blame them for doing so, because it's ultimately about what you want as a customer. And now, obviously, company aside, they're not giving what the customers ultimately are wanting, and that's a problem. But that's
Yeah.
that's that's why I ultimately tell everyone that I see heading that direction to ultimately just buy empty or buy secondhand.
well, I think one
Yeah.
one company that I mean I heard of when I started with lightsabers, Saberforge. They're moving in a direction that I would say is a little bit more positive. I mean, the owner is a little bit quirky, but he's an interesting
Yeah,
guy to
I
say the
would
least.
I can yeah, I would say Phil is he's definitely a quirky one, that one. But he's kind of held his place in the community for as long as he has, because he realizes in a sense that he can't necessarily stick to the same kind of pattern that he had, and the same kind of pattern that Ultra Sabers is still continuing to do.
Yeah.
And I can commend that. I can commend that.
I actually messaged him a few times in the last 2 years, and I remember him telling me when he was moving over to Xenocores, he said, "One hole to rule them all."
Meh.
And, that was just funny. And I think he was texting me after a Mardi Gras celebration, so he might have been drunk. I'm not sure. He told me in the chat too.
Yeah, I've had a few interactions with Phil over the years. All of them haven't been either one side or the other pleasant or displeasant. They've just kind of have been in a sense, I suppose. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to see that he's Saberforge is at least trying to make a little bit more of a stable ground for themselves. But
Yeah, I mean,
there's been a lot of that in the community over the last 5 years. Um, I've seen I can't even count how many times I've seen a drop
Well,
shipper pop up and disappear
yeah.
randomly every other week, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot to stand your ground in this community. It takes a lot to keep up with the times. It's a lot to just take in all the information that is always ever flowing within this community, because there's so many different sides to it. uh Production side of it, hilt wise, chassis design, the PCB design wise, you've got font makers, there's everything across the board. It's a lot to take in, and I
Hmm.
I can commend the companies that do try to stay on top of that and try to stay around, because it's a lot to deal with.
And I also understand the offense for font makers as well, trying to get um I guess like in with companies for their fonts and stuff.
It's
Because if you remember,
extraordinarily
like,
hard.
yeah,
because well, look what happened to Noah Star, right? I think it was I don't remember if it was Saberforge or Ultra Sabers that he had to deal with, and they pretty much took almost all of his fonts for themselves
Yep.
I know
and
who you're
left
talking
him
about. It's
behind.
Nova Star. It was Ultra Sabers. I remember hearing about this when I first started out in 2023, when I really got into the hobby. Something about him
Hmm.
basically being a part. Basically, Ultra Sabers like filed something or whatnot, and basically claimed ownership of all the fonts he made, and then he basically went on a
Yep.
he fit throughout the Facebook pages and basically dropped off.
Yep. I
Yeah.
it happens. Unfortunately, a lot of the companies that are trying to pick up fonts aren't necessarily doing it in a sense that makes the font makers happy. And
Yeah.
I can get that. Being as I've done deals with other companies like that before, and
Hmm.
it's not worked out in my favor as it should have. It's
Hmm.
been beneficial to a degree, but it's hard. It's hard to
I
get a lot of people to recognize the amount of effort and the amount of time that goes into font making. It's not just throwing, random sounds together and wiping your hands clean and going, that's done.
yeah.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot of
Especially with recreating, if you want to
right.
like exactly like
Hmm.
how you hear it in the show or the
Exactly.
movie. Uh,
Exactly. And even if you're going the route of trying to do sampling and do it that way, it's still there still is a certain ear that you have to have for that kind of sound,
Hmm.
because you have to be able to loop everything. You have to be able to understand that there's a limitation to the equipment that you're bound to. Most
Hmm.
speakers are 28 millimeters or less. Even at
Right.
most, you're getting 30 to 32 at the most obscenely large hills.
and that's only
That's
if
Hmm.
that is
you're
a
able to check out
lot to
a
work with. That is a lot to work with in bounds of sound, because you have certain thresholds that you have to work under. You have certain wave frequencies that just don't work on those type of
Hmm.
speakers. All lower registered sounds, they struggle, and it takes a certain amount of testing. It takes a certain amount of ear knowledge, just knowledge of how sound works,
Hmm.
and it becomes a problem of trying to educate while also retaining that integrity of yourself. Of I don't need to break down everything that I do to justify what I deserve.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard in that sense.
Well, I'm glad that the fonts that you've made are able to become exclusives to your sabers when you get them from if we buy them from Corbanth, especially.
Yeah, Corbanth. I've worked with Corbanth, and they've been nothing but just kind-hearted. I've
Hmm.
done I think somewhere around 10 to 12 sabers for them now, whether they're already produced or currently in means of production.
Hmm.
Along with some other props, I've worked on some other props that are kind of in production limbo at the moment, but they're
Hmm.
currently being worked out. But I continue to do work with them, and they did a font deal with me to where pretty much anytime they need a font or anytime that they have a new hilt release or anything like that, I'm right there ready. You know, as soon as the hilt releases, that font's ready to go along with it, with
Hmm.
everything that they, everything that they want to, do with the font. So it's nice that they were one of the larger companies to be able to work with. I'm very grateful that they were, um as adamant as they were to get my fonts on every single hilt, and they got
Hmm.
every single font out of my catalog. So I'm very thankful for that.
That's
Um,
awesome. And the font makers actually should be commended and well compensated for their for their work, because most of these lightsaber companies that produce the hilts, the hilt is great by itself as a shelf queen.
Right,
But again, the electronics and the font itself bring that soul to the hilt.
right,
So if you leave any, because everything together has to be synergistic, right?
right.
And if one of those things is left out, then you have a glorified flashlight. You don't
Exactly.
have a
It's
saber.
exactly that. You don't have the life of the saber, and that's more or less what I've always thought of it as, is the font itself is the life that brings the light to the saber.
Yeah.
It's not the flashy lights on the chassis, it's not the flashy lights on the blade. Like that's all cool and fine, but if you can't hear it, if you can't feel the vibration of the speaker in your hand, making it feel more realistic, then it's like you said, a glorified flashlight at that point.
Hmm.
And it's really sad because it there's not a lot of appreciation for the font side of things in that regard of thinking in that manner.
Hmm. But and again, like I was saying, that companies should acknowledge and compensate the font makers for that particular reason. Because if you don't have an appropriate font on there, it really it doesn't matter. And all the blinkies of the world and everything, just like you were saying, it just won't matter, right? But if you have something meaningful within the font itself, that brings that emotion, that brings that passion, that brings the happiness and joy to that person, that everything that comes together, the right board, the right sound fonts, the right lights, and not every saber needs blinkies or lights. I mean, because
Right.
depending on the type of hilt it is, sometimes less is more, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so I really love to showcase that side of saber making, font making, and so forth to most of the new people that come in and decide to watch this. Because it brings awareness. It brings awareness that you have multiple avenues to go through things, and don't just stick with one thing. Do your homework. Find
Right.
reputable people, find reputable companies, find reputable people, find reputable installers. Don't just go for anything here and there. And
Yep.
if something sounds too good to be true, more likely it really is. And not everybody can afford a 12 to $3,000 hilt, lightsaber. And so, uh, and I've always said it myself. I every paycheck I have a $50 budget. So I really have to either save up for what I want to get, or I can pay for it a little bit at a time, and or put the money aside a little bit at a time until I get that hilt. As well as my fonts, I've got to pick and choose my fonts and buy here, buy there when I get a chance, or wait for the sales to come up so that I can buy three, maybe eight fonts at a time if that's
Yeah.
if I can.
And
So
that's another that's why I personally have brought my font prices down to try to bring, because I know the state of the community. I know fonts have not been a hot market item in the last few years. It used to be every week, a
mhm,
new font would come out from somebody, and I would see it all over the place. And it's been a
mhm,
lot less of that in the last few years, and I've taken notice. I've sat back, I've watched things, I've seen how many people are interacting with fonts, seeing how many companies are actively searching out for new fonts, searching out for
mhm.
a catalog of their own or anything of the sort. And I took it upon myself to not only lower them on my own website but on Saber Font as well. There
Mhm.
is a little bit of a disparity between what they are on my site versus what they are on Saber Font, but that's just to cover myself and the fees, and make sure that everything is as cheap as possible while still being able to at least break
Well, you
even.
have to, yeah, you have to make some money. I mean, that's another thing. These people, these days, in myself, I used to be that way. I used to be when I first started out, in the lightsaber stuff, because, again, my story goes that, uh, I lost my best friend to brain cancer, and so my journey with
Very sorry to hear that.
get, I think it, but it's been what, for probably about 7 to 8 years now, and in getting started into the community, I wanted to honor his memory, and so I put his voice on to a saber font. And funny enough, I have it on the negotiator. It's too funny because he was jack of all trades, and so anyway, um, in honor of his memory, I started you know, um, learning stuff from Mad Cow and learning how to do, the lightsaber blades. But then I've been blessed to have become friends with Space Windu, Anthony Legapa, who allows me to really do saber talk Sundays, man. And so he started teaching me quite a few things. And when I was in the process of making my memory saber, he would always answer my questions. And Anthony, I've been so blessed to know him, Gabe, and Harris, the original three amigos of Saber Talk. And no matter how many questions that I had, they were always there for me, and I could always get answers from them. And you can always get answers from any makers as well, whether they're fonts. You have problems with fonts and problems with wiring or whatever, but make sure you do your homework first too. I don't want to encourage people to just ask questions without going and looking for things yourself first. And
Right.
if you don't do that, you do a little bit of injustice, because all of these people who are willing to help people, hey Ace, all of these people who are willing to help you on there, they want to help you, but they really don't want to have the same questions. Well, they have the same questions come up, but if you do a little bit of the work for yourself, you can kind of dwindle down the problems and kind of find problems for yourself at times. But
Yep.
at the same time, I know people are going to get stuck. And if you already say, hey, okay, I checked this out, I checked that out, I did this, but I'm still stuck. What do you recommend? And that's what they want to hear. They want to hear that you've done a little bit of work for yourself and not just rely on a question because you didn't do anything at all.
Right.
and
Because it
and
becomes a teaching class at every question,
hmm
and it's nice to have somebody that comes to you with a educated question. And
hmm
what I mean by that is somebody that has a understanding of what they want to know. And
hmm
it's really nice when people are able to do so. Does it happen often? Not as much as I would, not as much as most of us would probably like.
Yeah, and I imagine so. But like I said, I used to be one of those people before I started the process of learning how to install myself, because some people want something for nothing. And again, I never understood the amount of energy, the amount of time, the amount of expense that goes into doing all of these things. And I always kept questioning, well, why is it so damn much? And then as my journey went, further down the rabbit hole in doing the memory saber, Tim from Tirfon Orbitals in the house. Um, as I went further down into the rabbit hole, I kept finding these answers that I was actually looking for myself. Like, how come it costs so much? Well, when you break it down, you've got the fonts that are costing anywhere from $8 on up, to
Right.
maybe 12, $13, right? And then you got the font price. Then you got the price of all these individual pieces. And just the blade itself, if you break down the parts for the blade just by itself, you're already looking at 150. So when it's past 150 and you're like, wait a minute, 150 for just a blade? What the hell? Well, look at all the prices. Look at what the prices for each part is. Then you factor into your shipping on top of that.
Yep.
Then you start getting a sense of why people charge the amount that they charge for the sabers. And on top of that, people don't understand the time that it takes that for them to weather, the time for them to wire, the time for creating and building chassis. That I just start
It's a
gutting in.
time-taking process, especially
Oh
when
my
it comes
god.
to chassis design, because each and every saber is different. You can't. It's not a universal thing to where each and every saber is this same exact chassis. No,
Mhm.
this version of this hilt has this one, while this other version of the same exact hilt uses a different one, and
Yeah.
it's a painstaking process, and not a lot of newcomers understand that there is a lot more behind the curtain.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's exactly what I want to get across, especially for the newbies that don't understand, because they don't understand what the installers go through, what the font makers go through, what each process takes. I mean, I myself just got you know a Centauri Carbon, and I've been playing around with it, and just sometimes even just small STLs that I've been doing, they take 5 or 6 hours. Some
Yep.
of them maybe one or two. I mean, depending on the size that you're doing,
Yep.
depending on how it comes out. That's
Exactly,
five
and
or
then
six.
depending on the printer as well. Some printers take longer than others, especially if you're doing, a regular FDM printer, or if you're doing a resin printer. Those they take time.
Mhm.
They all take time.
Yeah, absolutely. And time is such a precious commodity in anybody's life, right? um and especially if somebody has a family. Now let me ask you this: is this a full-time job for you, or do you have a regular full-time job and do this on the side?
No, so this is a full time thing for me. Like I said, I've been doing this for like 5 years now, and
Okay.
it's not just sabers that I do. I also do other things on the side, such as video game design. And like I said, music as well. But lightsabers are my main thing. Whether it's font making or chassis design or hilt design or any other various prop design. I've done
hmm
blasters. I've done thermal detonators. I've done all sorts of things. So
That's one thing I need to acquire in my arsenal, man, is a thermal
well,
detonator.
keep
I
an
think
eye out.
I need I don't know if KR does the thermal detonators anymore. I know at one time they did, but are who's oh my gosh, I've seen so many variations in 3D printed kind, the full metal kind. You
A
know,
lot of the
KR was
yeah.
full metal. Um,
Well, I'll definitely say this. Definitely keep an eye out for one that'll be coming from me later, probably late next, mid to late next year. It depends on production.
ooh, uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, currently working on that. So
Mhm.
we'll see. We'll see.
Get a hold of me later, you know, where we can talk in private and we can discuss certain things on that, man. So, you know,
Yeah, certainly.
I, I I'd like to ask you a bunch of questions, but I don't want to put you on here and ask them your, you know, it's that way everybody can do their own homework on that stuff too.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. All I'll say is I've designed one, and there's currently talks of one being done sometime mid to late next year. So
mhm.
that's all I'll say for now. But
Yeah, let's go to your chassis design stuff. Like designing chassis. Are we able to find your chassis like on Etsy or go through
no.
your
So
website
at the
or?
moment, I'm still in the process of getting all of them uploaded to my website.
Hmm
Most of the ones that I have done have been for either Corbanth or for Jakku Junk Trader.
hmm
I did quite a lot for Jakku back when he was still doing installs. I don't believe he is doing anything as far as that goes these days. But
hmm
I think I did somewhere in the realm of about 20 to 30 different ones for him, somewhere around there. And
Wow.
then about the same for Corbin. I think maybe somewhere around like 15 to 20. So
Wow.
Was the
um,
chassis for the Jade Slayer, was that yours?
can't remember off the top of my head at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I ended up picking up an empty Jade Slayer, and they even threw and Randy even threw in the chassis for me, which is good because I would rather not have to pay extra for the chassis, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah,
No, Randy's a good guy.
he is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many people and so many things like different things affect where same people, you know, start into the hobby and then get out of the hobby, for various reasons, you know.
Yep.
People come and go just like anything else, but you
I've
know,
I've even taken small hiatuses. I mean, even I didn't release a public font for I think better part of 2 years, 3 years. I
hmm
had a kid and I kind of took some time, just doing chassis and hilt design. Kind of took a step back from fonts, but
Oh,
came back to
congrats, man.
fonts earlier this year and
hmm
actually just relaunched my website a couple of months ago.
hmm
But yeah, I took a little. Everyone needs a break. Everyone needs
hmm
everyone needs a break, especially in this community. It's going back to it's a lot to take in. There's a lot of avenues, and if you're doing everything all on your own and you're just taking the brunt force of fonts and installs and design and this, that, and the other, it's a lot to take in. Most
hmm
people deserve a break from that. It's a dog eat dog community in a lot of senses, and it's fast paced. It's ever
Yeah, it
changing and
really
always
is.
evolving.
You know, and you would think that there would be a lot of there's quite a bit of camaraderie, but there are a few things where some have, and I don't know all situations, but the elitism,
Yeah. Yep.
this hobby should bring us closer together as far as the love stuff, and
It is a bit baffling in some regards of the story that's about the Star Wars in and of itself. It's kind of a paradoxical thing there. But yeah,
I agree. I agree, man.
yeah, no,
I,
it's
I, to each their own, though. To each their own. But
yeah, exactly.
however you want to, however you want to piece it, though.
Yep,
Um, for the most part, the love of Star Wars, the love of lightsabers, um, and the love of the art itself is so enticing. You know, and especially if you find good installers, good font makers, and so forth, because really the artistry with which each of these makers is anything but amazing, because the artist, Jeremy Tierfon, yourself, Juan, all of these makers, they really put their heart and soul into a lot of the things that they produce and do. And, to for some company to come in and say, hey, I'd like you to come with me, but then they come out and they say, well, this is my stuff, they bring very little recognition to the artist, where I
yeah,
think it should be where the companies bring face to the artists themselves right away. Hey, I produced a hilt, but the hilt comes to life because of Reaver's Arsenal, because of Wanted, because of
right,
specific artist, right?
exactly.
Uh,
And
and
that's how it
and
should be.
it's how it should be, but it unfortunately it's not, and that's one of the things that I love about me doing the show, and I believe Anthony's pretty happy with the way I do it, because of me showcasing people and the artists themselves, what they've accomplished, and what they go through. And that's another point that I want to make, is the reason why I do live and not edited, because you can't edit live. And when you do videos and you edit videos, nobody sees the hard work that you go through. Nobody sees the crap that frustrates you guys, the amount of hours, the amount of time, the amount of energy that goes into doing all of this stuff. Nobody
Yep.
sees that, right? Nobody
Yeah.
sees
No,
that, and
I
I want to
fully agree.
showcase it. And I want to
It's
showcase that.
it's nice to see that there's a place for that to come to light. It's really nice that you guys do this.
And I feel importantly strong about it, because again, for the new people that come into the hobby, and hopefully they watch these videos, and I understand that I'm not as popular as a lot of these people in these videos, doing the lightsabers and showing off lightsabers and stuff like that. I do understand, and I am not looking for the popularity part of it. I'm doing this for recognition of the artist, recognition of the makers, the recognition of the work that they've done, and literally just having a chair, sitting at a table, and talking to people like yourself, that there may not be some people out there that get a chance to come and sit at a table and talk lightsabers and everything like that, or together.
Yeah. And
And
that's one point I'll add to that is that's why I enjoy to a certain degree like a forefront meeting with people. I've done a few cons.
mhm.
I've worked with Starforge Sabers. They're actually kind of local to me,
Oh,
um, but I've seen them at cons, quite a few times over the last few years. I actually just saw them at one of the cons in my area, maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Hmm.
And they use my fonts, and every time I go up to their table, I hear people just asking about them, and he's just, hey, the artist is right here, talk to him. And it's nice to have that forefront with people and have their questions about things like, well, what sparked this idea, what made you create this, or even just showing the gratitude and the gratification for like the time and the creativity that went into it. It's nice to have that interaction.
Yeah, and again, the creativity should be showcased because you never know what's going to spark the creativity at any one time. So,
Yeah.
and again, like I was saying, yeah, you know, for myself. And I tell you, when I come on here, because I don't have friends just coming over to my house, into my garage, sitting at a table, drinking a beer, whatever you're drinking, and talk about this stuff. I come on here when I talk to you guys, when I talk to guests and my co-pilots, and we have a good time doing this. I mean, sometimes 2 hours goes by like 5 minutes. It's crazy, right, Barris?
Yeah,
I
it does.
mean,
Crazy.
I mean, you it just baffles me that 2 to 3 hours can go by in just a matter of minutes, and not and because all of that stuff, all of the real world stuff goes away. um and it's a good time to come and talk, and we talk sabers, and there's a place at a table right here for anybody to come and talk it, especially if they can't have the avenue where family members don't want to hear it, where friends don't want to hear it, or where significant others don't want to hear it. I
Yeah.
invite all of I, I invite all of those people to come and talk with us Sunday nights, 8:15 Central Time. And again, anybody that I invite onto the show is always, I say, you always have an invitation, never a have to. So, I will always put, for those that want to, I will send them invitation. I will send them a link. And if they want to come on, they come on. If they don't, they don't. That's okay. Again, the comfortability for people to come and talk is what I want. I want it to be natural. I want it to be fun, and I want it for a place for everybody to come and have a seat. And that's the whole basis. And again, I am so very very grateful to have known a lot of artists such as yourself and people within the saber community that we can talk and have fun with, and I can showcase. So um,
Yeah.
I'm
I
really
appreciate
glad
you
to have
guys having
this.
me on.
And again, I invite you to come on anytime you want to, man. After this, and say, a couple of months later down the road, you want to come back on, by all means,
Yeah,
hit me
certainly.
up, and I will send you a link, right?
Hey, Reaver, I actually want to ask you, with all the new equipment that you're getting for sound to making sounds and whatnot, will you be updating some of your fonts to include better stabbing noises?
Yes. So, in regards to some of the older fonts, I have been already working on them as far as remastering quite a lot of them. So in the next couple of months, I will be re-releasing quite a few of them. But the update will only be to the files. I'm not going to be shooting new demos for them. It's only just going to
No,
be
of
an
course.
update to what the actual sound files are in the actual file there. So, um, and if you've already purchased a font from me and you're hearing this, that applies to anyone that has already purchased the font. If you've purchased the font and you see I've remastered it, shoot me a message. I will send you the brand new update. Or if you still have the Dropbox link and it still works, it will all with be within that Dropbox there. So uh,
I
any
have
of the
I have
fonts
a
at that,
giant I have a giant folder of every single font that I've purchased on my email. So, yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yep,
on
and anyone that ends up, deleting those emails or anything like that, if you just show that you have the font and, you can at least, justify that, you bought it and, just bring it to me and be like, hey, I just want the remastered version of this. I already have the font. That's perfectly fine for me. So,
Yeah, I see some of the fonts out there though that I would love to see certain fonts out there just remastered for Smooth Swing, and that they're not. I mean, it's like, oh my god.
yeah,
I,
unfortunately, I've seen a lot of the font makers from, I guess, ye old days of font making. Um, no longer do anything. They kind of just disappeared. It happens.
oh, what about the
hmm
fonts that you made for Crimson Dawn? Because I know that those were exclusives for them. We'd be updating.
So as far as the ones that are exclusive to their savers, I do not have control over any of that.
Okay.
Those are their sound fonts in that regard. Those aren't my sound fonts. I made them for them. Any of the ones that they are using, or any of the ones that they will be using any from this point forward, yeah, they'll be the updated remastered ones. But as far as their own catalog that I made them, I can't do anything about that. So
Yeah, because
unfortunately, um, some of them were messed with as far as production level. I'm not sure as to what. I wasn't in charge of that, unfortunately. A lot of that went on the side of their production, like who they had in-house production or whether whatever means they did. So
yeah, okay.
Cool. So, Cam, on your website, more or less right now, it is just your catalog of your fonts, correct?
yes, correct. There's going to be updates to my website within the next 3 months, maybe 4 months, somewhere around there. I'm still working out a couple of things before I want to get it fully launched to where I want it. But for the
hmm
moment, the fonts are on there. What will be coming are STL files for not only chassis, but other
hmm
props that I make as well. So, and that's a wide variety of things. That's anything ranging from helmets, that's ranging to um, video game props, such as other, fantasy firearms, things like that. There'll
hmm
be STL files for that, and then hopefully within the next 6 months to a year, once I have full finished product for video game, a link will be up on that as far as that goes. But um, website's going to change over the next 6 months to a year, in the
hmm
regards of what content will be on there. All my fonts will remain the same on there. The other thing that should be getting added, there's still some work to be done on that end, is Syndicate custom relics. I'm sure, I think it was Barris that had asked me about his section on there.
hmm
We're currently in the works of getting all of his stuff moved over from his website, and we'll be hosting on mine. And I believe we're working on doing some collaborations, like I said, um, to put up on there as well. So
Yeah, and I look
Cool.
forward to seeing what new stuff that Syndicate has. I mean, the work that he's done with his custom fonts, especially his Syndrolic font. I mean, and that font I'm hoping makes a comeback because I'm not sure if you keep up with other things, but Theory Sabers at GalaxyCon in um, what a recent convention that happened this weekend. He had Nick Gillard signing autographs, and apparently he released a stunt saber based off of the one that was used by Nick Gillard in his cameo in episode 3. And I feel like that font would definitely be a boon because
okay,
it's not. It's
I'll have to let him know.
Yeah, it's a Theory Saver. It's exclusive. I'm not sure if TXQ will ever allow that specific hilt
Yeah.
to become available, but it's right now in an sRGB configuration. But the fact that it's SNV4, it's the RGB version of SNV4 Pro.
Mhm.
I would say it would be a great to see that font get a comeback.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to let him know.
Yeah.
Um, Cam, are you familiar with Jedi Arms Dealer?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there's another one right there. If you get a chance to go and watch Jedi Arms Dealer, Dave is out there in California somewhere, but he has done several videos on crystal chassis chambers, right? And he shows the progression from his earlier works of creating these crystal chambers and then progression to what he's done. You can also see some of the videos that he's in on Saber Talk as well with me and Anthony. And but again, he's got he's got such phenomenal skills that he did an acrylic custom lightsaber in the shape of a kyber crystal, and then went as far as to put the audio onto his car speakers. So
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah,
yeah, so
I've worked with some of the like Bluetooth audio and stuff like that, and I've had some success with it, but man, it's a finicky thing. So I commend
it,
him for getting it to work flawlessly through a car stereo.
yeah, man, I tell you, it's unbelievable to watch that video, and of course, you know, he's very far from the camera. You know, he's a little ways from the camera, but because the sound on it is so like, oh my God,
Yep.
you would think like, wow, right? And it's unbelievable. So if you get a chance, go to YouTube, check out Jedi Arms Dealer and some of his videos, and hopefully one of these days, Jedi Arms Dealer will come back on here. Right now, they I think they're fixing to move and get everything prepared for moving into another place. So, but he did tell me that you know he wants to come back on and have a little fun with us too and stuff. And so, you know, when Dave comes back on here, maybe I can get the two of you together to come onto the show
Yeah, that would be
and
nice.
just kind of talk about certain things that you know by the engineering standpoint of things would be a lot of fun to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
you can always pick my brain about engineering. That's one of the very few things that I just can't get enough of when it comes to just design work is just figuring out math problems.
dude, I'm terrible. I mean, well, for me, I'm terrible at math, but a lot of things I'm terrible at because, but I'm tenacious and I eventually will get things done because even though I'm dyslexic, I don't let that stop me from anything, right? Um, some people may find that it's a disadvantage of stuff. I've literally taught myself how to have less episodes of it, but at the same time, you know, my attitude towards things like I turn a you know a negative into a positive at things, and so I love to portray uh that type of image to everybody too. That don't just let one thing stop you from something. Doesn't matter if you have the funds for something. Doesn't matter if you have the knowledge for something. Doesn't matter if you know if you're limited on certain things, because there's always a way to get things done. There's always a way around you know certain things. It may not be the way that these guys are doing it, but it's a way for you to get it. And one of the reason and the reason I say that is I work with individuals with special needs, and one of my guys has the use of only one hand, one arm, and he can put on clothes. He can, he needs a little help, but for the most part, he can take his clothes off. He can put his clothes on. He can do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't believe that two people with, people with two hands couldn't do. And
It's
it's
a certain amount of willpower.
so it's amazing. And like they say, where there's a will, there's a way, and
Yep.
there is. So don't let anything stop you from achieving, a saber of your dreams. I mean, if you got to do $150 saber, do $150 saber. If you don't want $150 saber, well, then save up a little bit at a time to get that higher quality saber that you want.
Yep.
So a lot of people will let that stop them. Well, I don't have 400 or 500 bucks. I don't either, but I can save up $20 here and there until I get it and then purchase it. So, or you can find a seller that's willing to go and say, hey, okay, give me X amount until you're paid off, and then I'll send the saber to you. Or you can pay me half, and then I'll send the saber, and you give me the other half.
I
There's a lot of ways.
I like to
But with that, go
another term
ahead.
for it would be holding the saber hostage until you're able to pay, but it's a nasty way of putting it in a sense. But
It is, but if you find somebody who's reputable and is willing to work with you, and I'm not saying that, because there are people that will take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
It goes back to the research thing of make sure that you're vetting the process. And it's
Yeah.
not just, oh, is this individual person a reputable person? It's find out which companies, find out who's who, dig a
Hmm.
little. It's everything is there. Just have to dig for it. You just have to dig for it and look for it and have the determination to actually do your due diligence as a customer and figure out what's a worthwhile deal and what's snake oil.
Yeah, and like I seen, like recently I just saw, and I'm sure it's probably been up for a while, but Vader's Vault is like, okay, buy now and pay later, right? Through
Yeah.
PayPal or whatever have you will. So stuff like that, you can do, but just make sure that you're on the up and up in things. And also, communication is the best thing for a lot of things as well. Keep the communication between you and the buyer, you and the seller, and so forth. Constant communication is a big deal, and there may be, again, there may be some instances that happen that may not be, in control. The seller may be, something may have happened that you don't know,
Yeah.
that they say,
No,
okay,
life
well, you
life
only,
happens. Life happens,
yeah.
and there's a certain amount of civility that you have to have when dealing with individual people or even just smaller companies. It's
Hmm.
there's still life. I mean, people were running companies and everything, yeah, but at the end of the day, they're not that entity. They are a person and they have a life. So
Hmm.
there's obvious things that can happen. Whether it's a death in the family, an illness, anything of that assortment. There has to be a certain amount of awareness and like I said, civility when it comes to that.
Oh, that's a great point you bring up, man, because I was going to bring that up later, but that's a great point that you bring up because, even some people that order sabers, they don't understand that, yeah, people have lives too. I mean,
Yep.
even though this is their job, it's a job, but at the end of the day, they still have a family. They like you were saying, maybe a death in the family, maybe a wedding, or they need to go take a vacation with the family. And no matter
Right.
what the
Yeah.
case, um you know,
and it's not something that needs to be public knowledge either. It's not something
it
that
doesn't.
you have to make justifiable.
Yeah,
It's just something that, like I said, it's a certain amount of humility and just a sense of humanity, when just buying from a small business like that. You have to
hmm
understand that, you know, we're not, we're not Disney. We don't have the money to just throw it at somebody and say, here, make it or break it. Like, you don't, we don't have that kind of, we don't have that kind of swing in this community when it comes to, us smaller businesses. It's a lot of, you know I do it on your own. There is nobody else. So,
absolutely, absolutely. And if you've got a problem with any of one of these things, learn how to do it yourself,
right.
and
And
and you'll
exactly
find
that.
out, and you will
That's
find out.
exactly how most of us got in this career. Is like myself. I wasn't happy with what I received. I took it upon myself to teach myself what I needed to know on top of what I already did know, and made something of it. It wasn't going to, college to learn it. It wasn't, I have to have a specific degree to do this. It's knowledge is there. It's readily available. It's just the amount of willpower and determination that you have to get what you want. If you don't want to take the time, if you don't want to take the effort and put it into that, that's fine. That's that's your prerogative. But
Hmm
don't harp on the people that are, trying to make, ends meet by, doing what they have done to get to that point.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they didn't make the repetition for just nothing, and
Right.
they didn't spend all that time for nothing.
Right.
They're there to make money, but to make you happy, but also to put money on the table for them and their family as well. Even though it is enjoyable, like that saying goes, if you enjoy something, it's never work, but it's
Right.
still work regardless of whether you enjoy it or not.
It's still
The
time
enjoyment.
spent, whether it's time well spent or time unjustifiably spent. It's still time spent. It's time away from even, doing, you know things for yourself. Like you said, if it's fun for you, then I
Mhm.
mean, it's still fun. Like, you're still enjoying it, but it's still
Right.
time that you spent doing that instead of, preparing a meal for you and your family, going out and seeing your friends. It's still time that you spent away from doing other things that may have brought more joy, may have brought more profit, may have brought it. It doesn't matter. It's still the time spent into such.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, and I know you guys get a very big sense of satisfaction when you produce something that when you see it out there, and it puts a smile on all of these people's faces, Bears included, because I see him smiling all the time for all the fonts that he shows off.
I love going to
So
cons for that reason. On top of the reason I was saying earlier of getting that face-to-face interaction, of actually getting to speak with people and take their questions. But
mhm,
seeing people at the cons, because going to some of the cons around here, the only lightsaber vendor at the con is Starforge, and Starforge uses all of my fonts. So I'll walk around the
mhm,
con hearing nothing but my sounds all throughout the entire place, and it's such a nice feeling, not just for the satisfactory of, like, I made something, and like, it's on everyone's thing. Like, it's more than that. It's the happiness and the joy that it brings other people, because you see them going
mhm.
around and clicking through all the fonts, and they're like, oh, check this one out, oh, check this one out. And it's that kind of thing that makes me really appreciate seeing that thing at cons. And unfortunately, I don't get to see it online as much, but I do see it in the sales. I see it in the more popular fonts that are purchased. I see it in what comes across in on Facebook or what have you. It's nice to
Hmm.
see that. It's nice to see those kind of um, just gratifications in what you made.
Hmm.
Mhm.
The gratification that you guys get too, man. As a matter of fact, this weekend was SpaceCon in San Antonio. I'm only 2 hours away from San Antonio because I live in Corpus. But
Oh yeah,
anyhow,
that was the one I was mentioning. Yeah.
um, I just didn't have after uh, paying for some of my daughter stuff and then purchasing. Actually, I end up getting the Crate Slayer. I finally got it in,
Oh,
so I
nice.
got I got the Crate Slayer hilt, right? So after purchasing this and then paying for my daughter's rent and stuff, didn't leave me with much money, so I had to miss the Comic Con that was here in San Antonio,
That's
and Theory Sabers and Kyberphonic were there this weekend, and I really wanted to go and see him and talk with him and do a few other things. But there's always next time or if I don't go to these cons, I definitely trying to save up and go to the Star Wars Celebration, which is in California this year, right? And oh, thanks you, dude. Typing great, yeah, man. As a matter of fact, let me open it and because I haven't really opened the box up, so let's do a little short unboxing here, and then after this, we'll do a few more little comments and stuff, and then we'll end the show, after that. So let me see here, and it's still in the wrapper, man. So, and of course, this
ASMR,
is
ASMR, ASMR.
so
Oh,
this is by Benji Nerf Herders and Jawa's Junkyard. So I just got it this past Wednesday, and yeah, I
wow.
told Leon finally got it. I'm like so excited to have it. So and then of course I'll be getting the Toranaga hilt as well from Jawa's Junkyard, and again, Reaver, when I was talking, Cam, sorry, when I was telling you about the Shogun font, is like that's gonna go so well with the Toranaga hilt, and I'm like, oh, my bells in my head were going, woohoo! The bells in my head were just chiming like crazy, man. Thank you, Mo. Yeah, bro. Thank you, guys. And so, I mean, it was a little price to pay, for missing the con, but overall, I'm going to be happy with these hilts and be able to put some of your fonts onto these sabers as well. And again, the the artistry that goes into hilts as well. But again, no one can ever deny the artistry that goes into font making, as well as chassis making too, because designing chassis takes a good amount of time as well, right?
Yeah.
that it
How
does.
how long would a specific chassis in your mind? Not let's not go a simple route because the simplicity of a chassis. Most people are adept to knock it out of the park, in a short amount of time. But if you do, if you make a certain chassis with certain things to it, and of course you have to have the real estate within the saber because all sabers are different,
Right.
and the real estate inside the sabers are so varied. You really have to do a lot of measuring to
It's a
get
lot of
to.
measuring and printing and testing pieces, realizing
Mhm.
this doesn't fit. and going back, doing it over, printing it. All it's a rinse and repeat process. Um, I say generally about a week with printing and stuff. Maybe
Hmm.
really pushing it 2 weeks if it's really a kind of a head scratcher design of I can't get this piece to fit how I want it. I can't get the tolerances right. It's there's
Hmm.
it really depends, but yeah, I would say about a week, maybe two.
By the way,
Really
yeah.
pushing it. So
Yeah, that's so true, man. Because I printed, I got a couple of STLs from Rich Sangillo, and I love that dude, man, because he's so cool. And he sent, I got an STL from him, and I'll show you. Um, let's see here. I just printed this out today, and I just so happen to have a bronze PLA. And
nice. That's a nice color.
so I printed this out today, and it looks like I don't even know if it's gonna. I mean, I know it'll fit with everything that supposedly had, and it's for the Nova hilt, right? Saber Forge Nova, and um, and so I do know it's going to take a 22 millimeter speaker so far. Now I found out that it fits very well in there. No movement with a couple of the adapter stuff, right? And let me go back right here. And so in doing so, though, I still have to figure out whether the connector is going to take a liking to the button holder. Let me see here. And the button holder I did in silver because most of the time this piece is not going to come out
Right.
of the hilt. So nobody's really going to see this as much as they're going to see this piece right here. If I decide to take it out, I may then decide not to take it out, you know. And so again, Rich is an amazing chassis maker as well, and you know, just an overall awesome person to get a hold of and get your chassis stuff from him. And you know he's on the forums a lot and stuff like that, and so usually on Instagram or Facebook you can catch him for those who are asking for that type of stuff as well. And he's so talented with that stuff as well.
Yeah,
And
I've seen Rich's work quite a lot.
yeah, he does some really good stuff, man. So again, like I said, he's such an awesome guy to talk to. So if you know you get a hold of him and stuff, I think that'd be another person that you guys can have fun and hit it off in terms of chassis stuff and so forth. So and, you know, and again, it takes time, and most people that are starting out don't understand the time that it does take to make these things, and in every facet of lightsaber building. So
Yeah, I
again,
mean, down from production or down from design all the way through to production, it's a few month process of going back and forth on designs if you're working with somebody, or figuring out tolerances and figuring out what placements of everything, and then going all the way through to production of making sure that the manufacturer is actually doing what you need them to do, and that doesn't always happen. So
mm,
there's back and forth when that comes to that, and that could hold up things for months, and a lot of people don't understand that of that's not just clean cut dry of I did a design in a day, ship it off, and now I'm going to get the prototype next week and it's going to go to production the week after. It's not a matter of that, especially when you're dealing a lot of these days, especially when you're dealing with outside the country. There's a lot of
Yeah.
back and forth. There's a lot of shipment time. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen because communication
Budget
errors are,
tariffs.
yeah, and then also you have to take on top of the fact of there's now tariffs on that. So it's
Hmm.
there, and even over the last 5 years, COVID did quite a number on the saber community, both in good respects and bad respects. Of a lot of people
Hmm.
came flooding to the community during that time. But we also saw a huge drop in shipping. We saw a huge rise in board cost. We saw a huge rise in chipset cost. We hit a real big wall when it came to getting things produced, and a lot of people were
Hmm.
really upset about that. Thankfully, a lot of
Hmm.
that is kind of subsided and leveled off in one way or another. But there's still other things that can happen within a production run that most people don't take into account,
Yeah.
and it's not, like I said, it's not clean cut and dry like that. It's there's a lot of muddiness to it. So things
Definitely a lot of muddiness.
things
Yeah.
can happen. I
And,
mean, I've even seen it, even just being the designer and having to go back and forth with the manufacturer of, hey, they don't understand what I'm trying to do with the design here, and there's communication errors and there's back and forth. It takes a while. It takes a while to work out those issues, and sometimes even when you know all communication is done and things seem fine, things can still go awry,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
it
And,
happens.
and,
Unfortunately, a lot of
and
the time it's on the company that takes the forefront of it, even though it may not be the company's fault. And it's unfortunate to see, but it's happened many and many a time.
hmm. Oh yeah. And then and then you have, like you said, the sometimes things that run out, and there's the restocking time.
Right,
And like, I'm sorry, but if a maker has to wait several months for a piece because
right,
he's out of that stock, but the place that he gets it from is out of that stock, and he may go to two or three different vendors to get that same stock, but
yeah,
all of those vendors may be out at the same time.
yeah. And it's
They're
also a
they may not.
rising gamble in regards to companies these days, because
Hmm.
even producing a hilt, doing 100+ run of them, which is not uncommon. It's kind of a gamble, because who's to say that those 100 hilts are to sell like that? I
Yeah.
mean, there's still a lot of sabers in the community, and there's a lot of places to buy sabers, but that also becomes a oversaturation in the same regard, because there's so many places that you're able to buy from, that getting those few specific hilts, say you have a very custom run, you want to get
Hmm.
that out and get the people to notice it. But you're taking a huge gamble and a huge risk at 100+ hilts, and you're left to sit with those as long as you have them, and then it's it's
Hmm.
hard. It's really hard,
Does,
and I understand.
does
Oh, go ahead.
does oversaturation scare makers?
In a sense, yes. Sometimes it becomes more a determination of, I want my version out, I want the creation that I had in mind out there. um
Hmm.
so it becomes more of a back and forth in that regard. But
Hmm.
there is a problem with it. It does scare certain makers. It does damage to the community in a certain regard, because there's too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And I'm not saying that it should be a closed off gated community either, but
Hmm.
it's like going back to the drop shipper problem of, if
Yeah.
there's so many of the same thing out there, well, then nothing's special. There's no
Yeah.
individualization, there's no characteristic to that company. It's just a cookie cutter, slate that's passed
Yeah.
on to the next person.
I
and
totally agree.
it's a problem. It's a problem in that regard. But
Well, like the
it's
oversaturation with the Chinese hilts, right?
hmm
Like because you've had all these different custom hilts from all these different people, and then when all of these Chinese companies came in with the cheaper hilts,
yep.
but you had a lot of Chinese hilts that actually weren't worth a damn. But people
Oh
went
yeah.
ahead and bought them because of price. People
Yep.
saw, oh, $160, oh, $150.
My
Oh,
viewpoint on it is they're great for beginners. They're great for
mm-hmm,
newcomers. They're great for people trying to tiptoe into the water. They're
mm-hmm,
a good stepping stone for you to understand more about sabers. If you don't want to understand more about sabers, cool. Stick with that. That's all
mm-hmm,
you'll ever need. You can put different fonts on it depending on which board you decide to get. They're very universal if you ever want to get just parts for it. Most of them are
mm-hmm,
very universal. They're great in that sense. When it comes to diving deeper into the water, they're not worth it. They're a damaging effect to
mm-hmm,
everyone else that is trying to one get their product out there and get their idea out there,
Yeah,
and
mm-hmm,
two, it's a problem in the regards of the customers because they get a false sense of price points and what they're getting and what it's worth. Because
mm-hmm,
if you're taking, a $200 to $300 saber from some Chinese manufacturer, and you get the board and the blade and everything like that along with it, and then you turn around and you look at somebody that's done a custom hilt and they're
mm-hmm.
charging, six to seven to $800 for it installed or empty, even at that fact, because of the production cost went into it. It's there's a certain level of trepidation that comes from the customer when they see that, because they go,
Yeah.
oh well, I can get this other thing for so much cheaper. It looks just as cool in my regards of what I think looks cool, and
Mm-hmm,
it hurts the end user,
mm-hmm.
unknowingly, and it hurts the company.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, especially when you. I mean, look, as far as quality has gone when it comes to the Chinese hilts, definitely some have gotten a lot better, especially with companies like TXQ. Um, but I will say that other lightsaber companies that are more like better quality, like KR sabers, are are definitely worth pursuing once you get up in there. Like, for example, I my first KR sabers was secondhand off the lightsaber pages, and it's a beautiful piece. I haven't gotten it installed yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting it installed.
Yeah.
Some of
And
them are
Um,
just really nice as shelf queens, and
yeah.
there's no need to pour the money into some of them that you don't plan on using like that. It's a preference thing as well, and that's one of the other things that I have kind of an issue with, the Chinese manufacturers, is it doesn't give a sense of, individuality to it, because they're
Mm-hmm,
all so universal that if you enjoy that saber and want something unique and something, more characteristic to you out of it, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to do that versus
true.
something much more custom made, because the maker went into that with a certain idea of, I want this chassis to look like this. I want this saber to do this specific thing with the
Thankfully,
buttons. I want the blade to go on a certain depth. I want windows in a certain area. There's certain things that
yeah.
thank
give
yeah,
more variability to the user and the maker.
and
And it's
thankfully,
Right.
some of those Chinese companies have also been able to recognize that, and along with work that has been done in the community, have made them a little bit more modular. Like, for
yeah,
example, with 89 sabers, like there's like at least 10 websites out there that and different people that make custom chassis, and there's also goth 3D
Yep.
printing, and it's
I've
just
I've made quite a few 89 chassis. They're very easy to work with because they were more or less designed with the idea of everyone's going to have their own design with this.
yeah.
So,
Okay, Cam, one last question, man. Do you have a favorite saber?
do I have a favorite saber? Um, I would have to say Revan's Dark Side saber is probably one of my
That
all
is,
times.
yeah.
That's
Um,
that's your go-to saber.
that's
The code
probably
for
one
it
of my go-tos. But I am growing in fondness of a couple of others. Palpatine is one of my upper favorite ones, but I'd say Revan
Hmm.
is probably the top go-to. And to loop back around to Scott's question there, I don't have my saber hooked up right now, but I can tell you a few of my favorite fonts. Um, s- few of them actually being the Halloween fonts that were mentioned earlier. Those ones are as grotesque and disturbing as they are. I love them. A lot of work went into those. I spent hours upon hours listening to the most grotesque of sounds,
Oh
and
God.
it would have broken everyone else's ears. I don't wish it upon my worst enemy, but I love those fonts. My Revan font, my Dark Side Revan font, is probably one of my all-time favorites. Um, my Trilla font and my Ninth Sister font are really far up there. Um,
Awesome.
but
Reaver.
the one that always is going to hold a special place to me because I haven't heard anyone do anything kind of similar to it is my Tyrantotech Slayer font. I would love if it got more love. It's a very kind of sinister and unique, unstable font. Um, but that one probably holds the most special place for me in that regard.
Okay.
But yeah,
I haven't
those
had
those
time
are
to
two of my
check it
fonts.
out, but I will make a point tonight to check it out, man. That's
Yeah,
that's a promise.
shoot me a message. I'll send over the demo and stuff for you.
Also, Chris, who wasn't able to join us, he wanted me to pass along and see if he wanted to ask you a few questions. So, if
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'll message you his details.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Cool.
but also,
Okay.
once I get your once you revamp your Revan fonts, I'm gonna make a blade style where you can switch between them, alt fonts.
Oh, nice. Yeah, let me know when you do. I'll give you a hand in the blade programming for that. I love working on blade programming. It's one of the very few things that I still do as far as Profi goes.
Nice.
I don't necessarily do installs for anyone anymore. I kind of just stick to myself when it comes to that. I do my own here seldomly,
There you
but
go. Yeah.
I don't I don't really I don't really need any more installed. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, man. So thank you again for coming on, dude. I
yeah, thank
really
you guys for
appreciate
having me.
it. And again, the invitation is always there. You ever want to come on, you hit me up, dude. I'll send you the link. You come on anytime. You're always welcome. Come on anytime.
Okay.
Anytime you have time, come on, and I'll be happy to have you, man.
Yeah, sounds good.
Again, thank you guys. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Each and every one of you, Tim, Jeremy, everybody that has been in the chat. Thank you guys so much. I love y'all so much. It means the world to me. It means the world to Anthony Lagapa. Space Windu, if you do. Make sure you like and subscribe to Civilized Sabers. This is Civilized Sabers channel right here. And again, Anthony makes the brightest blades in the world. So check out Civilized Sabers and check out the blades that Anthony's done and uh, you know everything that Civilized Sabers is done, and I try to do the best I can to make Harris's memory, good upon here as well. And Harris would definitely approve of everything that I do for this channel as well as Anthony. And again, I have to thank Anthony every time for allowing me to do the show the way that I do. So much love, Anthony. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. And everybody who comes every Sunday and hangs out with me and chimes in, it's just such a special honor that you guys come in each time that I do the show. Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough. This is the reason why I do it. And again, I may not be as exciting as all of those other people in their bids, but I'm rolling real. I'm rolling real, man. And we're here to have fun. So come and take a seat, have a beer, drink whatever you guys want to drink with us, and let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun. With that, Barris, have a good week. Cam, have a great week, and may God bless your family. And Mundo will be out, guys. Peace.
Have a good
Mundo
one.
out.